YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here on Total War Rome 2, and we're going to get back into another multiplayer battle. I actually played 2 against this guy, Leo Pfaff, or whatever his name is. It's interesting because a lot of you always ask me, like, Heir, how come you never bring artillery online? Well, here you go. This guy brought artillery. He brought a really weird army, in fact. So 3 Praetorian Cav, 1 War Dog, 2 Praetorians, or Praetorian Guard, one of the two, 2 Elephants, and a General. And I brought this Pontic army expecting to potentially get in a sword fight, and then I brought chariots to help deal with his infantry. Now, chariots have been neutered somewhat as of recent due to their mass, but they are still quite capable of destroying infantry, but they're a little more vulnerable than they used to be. They're not quite the killing machines they used to be. But again, a unit to not just write off if you've got sword infantry. So had no idea what to expect. I was kind of expecting to see my opponent crest over the hills, so here I am hiding my cav in the woods, like getting ready for this, and I see these 2 Praetorian Guard pop up, and I'm like, what the heck? You know, like he's not on the hill. Praetorian Guard, so that was weird. And then all of a sudden I see these guys pop into view, and I'm like, really? Giant ballista? So, what the crap? So I don't mind playing with artillery, but here's the thing. So look, he's got 2 giant ballista back here. And I could just stay outside of his range. His guys are going to have a range something like this, you know. Well, I don't know if you all can see it, and it won't draw the whole thing. Yeah, well, I'll zoom in and draw it in red where you can see it. They kind of, the artillery has kind of like an arc of fire that looks something like that. It's kind of a cone, except in this case, it's much larger. So it would be like out something like this. So his artillery has, actually it extends a little farther than that. So in all reality, it's probably more something like this. So he's got this big arc of fire. They can't be moved and they can't be turned from side to side. So this is a fixed artillery. There's 2 different types. And this particular fixed artillery and their line of sight is probably going to overlap. It'll be something like this, which is good. He didn't put them both in one place. So pretty much he's going to control this whole area of battlefield all through here. Like all of this is going to be, you know, a dead zone for his artillery, a kill zone basically. And once his artillery runs out of ammunition, it's going to end up being a big wasted cost. So really, it's going to depend on how much damage he can do potentially with this artillery. You can see me just kind of moving forward and scouting out a little bit. Honestly, probably one of the best things I could have done here is rush. But one of the things I saw when I came up this hill was 2 auxiliary Syrian elephants, or auxiliary African elephants, whatever they are. He's got 2 auxiliary elephant units up here, auxiliary African elephants. And with all my swordsmen, that's a huge risk for me to run into. So I actually can't just rush, because if he charges in his elephants, combine that with the artillery fire, his Praetorian Guard, and the War Dogs, and my guys are just going to chain route. So really, his army's pretty crappy, but it's going to be an interesting process for me to destroy it. Right now he's firing on my men, so I'm going to move into the woods to see if I can get some protection. And by the way, as we'll see later on, the woods really doesn't provide you any protection against the shots from giant ballista. And the fire shots from the giant ballista are extremely damaging if you score direct hits. I mean, they are brutal. Right now he's only got 20 kills with this one and 0 kills with that one. And I'm going to try and bait some shots out of him. But right here, he gets a great shot right into or close to my swordsman. I was like, oh boy, yeah, come on, get out of there. All my men being bunched up in the woods here didn't help either, because that means his missed shots are likely going to hit something. So like right there, my general lost men. This unit lost 10 men. My slingers lost men. So this unit right there just went from 0 kills to 40 in one volley. And that's how quickly artillery can get these kills, so you definitely don't want to bunch up like I did there. And I just don't know what else my opponent has at this point. I haven't seen all of his units, and so I'm hesitant to rush, because I'm worried that I'll rush in because of the artillery and then just get bushwhacked by something else. So I decide, hey, you know what, his artillery probably can't really hurt me when I'm in the woods. I'll just stay in the woods. It's not a big deal. And by the way, if you know someone's hiding somewhere and you're using artillery and you can't see someone, you can just hold down Alt and pick an area to fire. And just because you can't see them in doesn't mean you can't kill them. You will have to wonder how effective it's being. And see, look here, I put these Thurio spears out in a long line, and I'm baiting shots out of my opponent's artillery. This is a great way for me to waste his ammunition. And they have 15 ammo, which is a considerable amount. It's enough to do some pretty serious damage. These are some pretty giant ballista indeed. Those things are enormous. Absolutely enormous. But again, when you bring artillery, whether it's fixed or movable, it generally makes your army a whole lot more stationary. And see, look, I lured him forward, like trying to get him to shoot at my Eastern Spearman. He missed, but then just blasted a whole bunch of my archers. So that's great. My archers is down to half strength, and I know I have to deal with elephants. So, I mean, even by mistake there, my opponent did some good damage. But see, that shot completely wasted. That's what I'm going for. And if you're going to bring ballista, never do this. Don't fire it a long, thin line of cheap units. Over here, I don't know if he's still firing at me. I believe he is. And he starts to move his Praetorian Cav in, maybe trying to spot some of my men, which is a good idea. If he moves in and spots, his artillery can continue to open fire. And I see his Praetorian Cav in, so I'm going to go ahead and reform my men and get ready to take their charge if he decides to do so. And considering that my opponent's brought fixed artillery and all these weird troops, I'm very much, you know, thinking he will charge my spearmen. Just because of that, because everything he's done so far has been unorthodox. I got onto a square a little bit late, but I mean, look at his Praetorian Cav just lay down these Therio spears. I mean, melee Cav right now is brutal, and if he would have popped a Draco, I'll bet you he could have completely killed these Therio spears, because then they would have had no bonus versus cavalry. But even before I've gotten a single kill, he's killed 40 men, almost 40 men, 35. So I bring in my Noble Blood Cav. They took a artillery shot over here, which is fantastic. Lost 11 men. So you can see that his artillery, although not particularly threatening in and of itself, is kind of forcing me into this position that's actually not all that great. I've got to fight his Praetorian Cav here, which I really don't want. I'm going to lose my Noble Blood Cav. His guys are better. Decided to fire a few shots in, but I think I end up just killing more of my own men. And look at his shots. I figured the woods would break it up, but it's not. And my men are all hidden in the woods, and even his shots that are missing are killing men. So let's take a look at his artillery, up to 46 kills. This one's got 95 kills. So getting an impressive number of kills, and again, I've still got these elephants, which he starts to move towards me. And at this point, I'm just like, crap, his elephants are going to approach. My archers are out of position, firing at these Praetorian Cavs, so this is actually just horrible timing for me. And if my opponent can get his elephants into these woods, there's going to be little, if nothing, I can do to stop them. And that's because my archers just aren't going to be able to put enough fire down to kill them. And all the while, my archers are taking severe artillery fire. And my swordsmen are getting pounded with the artillery fire. So, like, my men are too bunched up at the moment. And I'm actually playing right into the hands of these giant artillery. 144 kills on this one. And here comes his elephants. I slow him down for a second with my Eastern Spearmen. Don't know that that'll last. But again, the morale effect from eating all this artillery is already weighing in on my men. You can see that I've got yellow morale here on several of them. I do get some good archer shots off, but one of his elephants is going to come in. There's really nothing I can do to stop them with swordsmen. This is the kind of fodder that elephants live for. It's like peanuts for the elephants. Now, he did hit his elephants with his own artillery, but look at that. Look at the morale. The artillery shots combined with the elephants. We just got a straight-up chain rout going on in here. My men are just completely routing. So he brings what's honestly probably a terrible army, but it's working quite well against my men right now, unfortunately. So I just have to pull back what units I can, just get away from his elephants. A lot of my units are routing. Hopefully they'll come back. He ran one of his own elephants amok with his artillery, but it's still, you know, running amok through mostly my men. Got Praetorian Cav and elephants into the back of my swordsmen here, both of which have routed with 100 men left. So, I mean, just completely decimating my army. I get away with a few units. Some of my archers are going to come back from routing, fortunately, and I go ahead and pull my cavalry out. And I don't know why I didn't do something like this a long time ago, but I've absolutely had enough of these Roman giant ballista. And I also pulled my chariots out because I saved these guys for late game, hoping that I, you know, could find a good use for them in late game. That way the enemy cavalry may not be so available. So yeah, absolutely had enough of these giant ballista. 207 kills too many. Don't know why I played this battle the way I did. Could have done a lot better. But we'll see if I can go ahead and win, even though he's chain routed the better part of my entire army. But, you know, he doesn't have much of an army. He's brought mostly kind of gimmicky units here. He lets go of his ballista. Don't know whether he's out of ammo. And then over here, not sure again if he's out of ammo, but his ballista are now dead. And this one, look, I don't even chase it because his Praetorian Guard are close by. And I'm lining these Praetorian Guard up. They're out of formation, and they're at the bottom of a hill where my chariots are going to get like a huge boost to their speed. And this is going to be brutal. So chariots have indeed been nerfed. He also used the whip too early. But watch what happens when chariots get a nice downhill charge here. So the momentum's just going to carry him right on through, and his guys weren't braced. So I'm going to mow down the bulk of his Praetorian Guard unit there, and then I'll do a downhill charge with my cav. Keep my chariots moving, and these ballista actually slowed down my charge, so the ballista itself. And then I can bring my Noble Blood Cav in behind and try and finish off that Praetorian Guard. And I did kill half of them with my chariots right off the bat. But I've got to keep my chariots moving in order for them to be effective, so I'm just going to continually have to feed them orders. It gets kind of micro-intensive. But these Praetorian Guard are going to last longer than I want them to if I don't come do something about it. So I'm going to bring the chariots back into them. It's going to be kind of like a pinball game here. And it's going to cause more morale problems than anything else. And then I'll just turn right back around and go back at these Praetorian Guard down here again. And then look, my chariots get stuck, partly on my own cavalrymen. So again, got to keep spamming out orders. Just keep spamming those orders. That right there was just a move order, not an attack order. And, you know, chariots kill men while moving, so that's ideally what you want. And I'll just keep running his men over. So now my chariots are up to 100 kills. I've engaged his legatus over here with one of my Noble Blood Cav. I think his bodyguard actually manages to fight it off. And then his African elephants have continued to try and attack my men who have regrouped. But I was able to shoot down one unit of his elephants, and his other unit is chasing a routing Eastern Spearman, and I'll have a chance to gun them down too. Yeah, you can see this elephant finally going down, so we've taken care of one unit, and then my chariots are just running all over these guys. So look, again, just gave him a movement order straight through the enemy unit. And you can see the mass does slow him down, so I've got to give him a little more movement order. But if the Praetorian Guard would have been formed up, it would have been a lot harder for me to hurt it, but since they're out of formation, this is perfect. It's ideal for my chariots. I want his men out of formation and unable to withstand these charges, because then the scythes just come on through and cut his men to pieces. So yeah, that Praetorian Guard's down to less than 20 men. Starts to waver. And then I see his legatus over here, and cavalry is not immune to chariots, especially a legatus unit that's mostly beat up as it is. So I'm going to send my chariots after it as well. And yep, here we go. Yeah, so chariots come through and cut up a whole bunch of men from his legatus unit, or bodyguard unit, and then I'll be able to turn around and do the same thing. Turn around and click another attack order. Just keep my chariots moving, and you can see that when they come in on the charge, they're getting a lot of kills. And then over here, his elephant's still trying to attack me. I've run them amok just through archer fire. I've actually never fired any flaming arrows, but his men have run amok. He did drop Draco on all my men, though, which sucks, because it's going to take away the bonus. Well, you know what? Actually, it didn't take away the bonus versus large on my spears. I thought it would. Look at this. His elephants are running amok, and my men, like, shooting and shooting and shooting, and these guys are like, oh, no, we haven't had enough of you. 300-something kills is not enough. These guys just keep beasting through my archers, and I'm like, seriously? Good grief, how are these guys not dead yet? And then they turn around and keep coming back for more. Look, arrows to the face. These elephants are just not dying. So apparently it's not good to go bow hunting for elephants. Yeah, look at this. Up to 352 kills now. And at this point, my archers start routing again. And in the absolute just nick of time, his elephants finally die after having absorbed who knows how many arrows. And the battle's finally going to turn in my favor. My chariot's racking up 176 kills, doing a fantastic job, and really clutching out the both of those Praetorian Guard units. So very much worth my while to bring this. Killed 2 units of 1,300 denarii cost. So even though my opponent chain routed me early with his combination of artillery and elephants, I was able to regroup, and his army had a limited number of tools, which means that it was going to be vulnerable. So, and I don't know if my opponent's new, or I don't know if he just likes bringing these weird armies. I don't know what the deal is. But it ended up being kind of an odd match. I don't run into this kind of thing. But look at that. My infantry just completely worthless. Worthless. Just got destroyed. So, I mean, impressive number of kills. And my archers didn't really get any kills. The few kills they got were elephants. So they did actually come in handy, even though the numbers kind of betray them there. But yeah, just absolutely trash. Most of my army here got destroyed. So weird to see an army like this. I guess I just did all the wrong things. I should have just split up my army, gone clean around the other side of that hill, and then that giant ballista would have never had me in its cone of fire, and I could have come in from the flank and destroyed my opponent. That would have been the right way to do it. So people don't bring artillery that often, and if you're dumb like me and you sit in its cone of fire thinking that the woods are going to protect you from a giant fire pot, then you're likely to get killed. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I actually got matched against this opponent one more time, so I'll bring you that one next time, and we'll see how Heir reacts the second time.